I'm Celia Craig and this is our ARTARIA Masterclass series covering the basics of playing the oboe so that people can teach themselves and support with watching our videos about how to play the oboe correctly. In lesson 1 we're going to cover equipment, putting the instrument together, reeds, just getting started really so that everything's set up ready for you to play. The first thing we do is we have to get our oboe reeds and pop them in the water because otherwise they won't play when they're dry. You have to get them soaked so that the cane is ready to play. And here's the oboe. Now you might well be using a more simplified oboe like this Howarth Junior oboe. That would be great. I'm just going to show you with mine, which is a little bit more complicated, but the principles are the same. First of all, I just want to check whether the instrument I'm working with is airtight and it works, meaning that there's no air leaking out of any of the little holes, because if you get a school oboe and it leaks, get an older instrument than it leaks, then you won't be able to play properly. So just double checking. Pop your fingers on the keys here and cover over the end, and let's just see if it's airtight. So this is excellent. I've just sucked all the air back in again to check that nothing's coming in through the holes. So I'm very pleased that that's nice and airtight. I've taken the little tenon cap off as well, which is there to keep your oboe protected in the case. There's the other one. Now this stuff, really important stuff, this cork grease, especially where we are in South Australia, incredibly important to keep the corky bits here nice and moist. This is also particularly nice cork grease because it's made of all natural stuff. You can even use it, if you want, as lip salve because it's very natural. But anyway, I've put a little bit on there just to make it nice and smooth to put together. Now I'm going to put my oboe together very gently. And be careful, if you've got links at the side, be careful that they're nicely lined up and then it will work nicely. Same with this joint. I'm going to put a bit of cork grease on the bottom and slide the instrument together like that, ready to go. So now the reeds have soaked for a while and I'm going to do a similar process to check whether the reed's airtight. Same thing as the oboe. You don't want air leaking out of it or you won't be able to play it. It'll just be a lot of effort. And if the reed's airtight, this one seems very good. So I put my finger over the end and then I'm sucking it, same thing as the oboe. Make some squeaky noises, good idea. Yep. Squeaky noises I've made then are just a normal squeaky sound, and then with the whole reed in your mouth, that tells you whether the reed is going to be easy to play or not. And I'm going to pop a little bit of cork grease on here as well. If it's a new reed, it'll be too dry, especially in South Australia. It will be too dry to go in and, more importantly, to come out of the oboe. You put the reed in to this socket and you put it right down to the bottom. It's got to go right to the bottom. They're designed to be the right pitch when they're all the way in. Sorry about my messy reed. There you are. Having had your oboe out and played it for a bit, let's talk about putting it away again, because this is all about equipment. I'll put my reed down for a sec. While you were playing it, it got moisture inside, and most oboes are made of wood. There are some plastic ones and they're not too bad, but let's get good habits right from the start so that your instrument lasts well. Fits together nicely. Let's use a cleaner. It's called a pull through because it's got a weight on one end and you pull it right through the oboe. Want to get all that moisture out so that if you don't, the instrument starts expanding with the moisture inside and then you might crack it. So that would be really bad. You want to clean it out. Also, water can get into these little holes and make a noise, so we don't want that. I'm giving it a good polish through. These type of pull-throughs are best because they've got a string on the end. If they have a string on the end, you can't possibly get it stuck in there because you can pull it out both ways. I like to do that just for safety. So, putting it away, back on with the tenon cap because it's really important it shall stay nice and safe in the case. We've dried out the inside, pop the tenon caps on, bye-bye, and the reed. In South Australia, I have a posh reed box like this so that I can keep moisture inside the case, inside the reed case. That's why we need to soak the reeds. If you don't have one of these reed boxes, then you definitely need to soak it really probably a bit longer, because everything gets so dry here. It's just a very difficult place to play oboe. Now, it's really important with the oboe in particular that the equipment is all set up properly and is airtight. And the reason is that oboes are very complicated instruments. They have really complicated mechanisms, and if it's all working fine, then it's quite easy to play. But if it isn't, then the oboe gets the reputation for being a difficult instrument when actually it's largely equipment. So you can see from looking close up at my oboe here that there are an awful lot of adjusting screws, because there are a lot of associated keys. When you press one finger down, then another key has to go down alongside it, and the adjustment of that is quite a specialist job. It's also quite difficult to make oboes well. Reputable manufacturers will make oboes really carefully and consistently, but if you buy a very cheap instrument, then it's likely to have not been made very well, and even if you buy an older instrument, it's likely to have been not very well maintained. Underneath all of these adjusting screws are tiny little pieces of cork, and they're going to vary with age, with temperature and humidity and things. So really they need quite a lot of fine adjusting. So I'm lucky here that I've got an oboe that's extremely well made and maintained, and I've put it together correctly with the links, and regulation of the instrument means that a reputable dealer can adjust all these adjusting screws so that everything plays. But I would honestly say that while I was studying, like at school, I got school instruments, which was great, but I think now, looking back on it, that probably 90% of them weren't working properly. So this is why I'm so passionate about providing quality equipment to people and giving people the tools to actually understand whether or not their instrument's working properly. So that was lesson 1, in which we covered equipment, making sure your oboe was airtight and your reed was airtight and soaked and ready to go, greasing the joints and putting it together very carefully, also using the pull-through to clean it out and put it away again. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for lesson 2.